With a current population of over 85 million people, Ethiopia is believed to be one of the oldest sites of human existence. Ethiopia has carried through the centuries a vibrant culture of color, rituals, and a fascinating variety of strikingly beautiful faces. The landscape is vast and contrasting. The highlands rise to 4,500 meters, and the Danakil Depression in the Afar sits at 800 meters below sea level. However, beneath the diverse terrain and elegant culture lies a growing population of people stricken by consistent cycles of famine, malnutrition, and poverty. Climate change is very evident in Ethiopia. Ever more frequent droughts result in mass numbers of people struggling to make a living in an extremely testing environment. 85% of the population is engaged in subsistence agriculture. Challenging terrain, isolation, remoteness, and unpredictable climate threaten crops and livestock. But there are those who are working to make a brighter future for Ethiopia. Non-governmental organizations within Ethiopia and around the world are partnering to improve and save the lives through sustainable development. And with donor support, these partnerships are successfully making a difference in the livelihood of thousands throughout the country. Despite the gray and dusty look of the land, Ethiopia's soil is extremely fertile, and contrary to popular belief, the country has an abundant water supply through various large rivers. The problem is that access to these rivers has not yet been developed to bring the water to the land in order to successfully grow abundant crops. An Ethiopian NGO, Support for Sustainable Development, SSD, has undertaken various irrigation and farm development projects to help the country break out of a cycle of drought and despair. SSD provides short-term food aid to local pastoralist communities through a system of food for work, thereby providing a workforce to construct intake structures and canals. These long canals, often stretching for kilometers at a time, are engineered to rely on gravity to bring the water to the farmland. Manpower, shovels, and determination do all this work. There are no machines or excavators in these undeveloped areas. The people who have roamed the land with their animals for centuries have been brought together by need and SSD to work for the common good. Moving tons of rock and gravel-filled soil to create a new future, these same people will eagerly learn to become farmers, and the untilled soil of the desert will become lush crops and gardens. One of the key elements in these irrigation-based development projects is the Canadian grain used for the Food for Work system. A circle of support and compassion starting in the farmland near Westlock, Alberta, and ending in bags of grain in Ethiopia is transforming lives. Rainbow for the Future, RFTF, based in Westlock, Alberta, Canada, is part of this circle. For nearly 20 years, the community of Westlock, and more recently RFTF, have provided funds towards the completion of 15 irrigation and growing projects in Ethiopia. Each of these projects, when completed, are estimated to feed over 5,000 people. Funding for these projects is made possible in part by the efforts and collaboration of many of the community's farmers, local agribusiness, and volunteers that make up the Westlock Growing Project. 2010 marked the 15th consecutive crop harvest, where 95% of the proceeds from the sale of that crop were donated to the Canadian Food Grains Bank. Leo Seguin, head of Rainbow for the Future, first traveled to Ethiopia in 1996, where he met Support for Sustainable Development General Manager Gabrias Haley, who has been the direct spearhead to over 170 projects pertaining to irrigation and pastoralists settling into a farm lifestyle.
You know, in 1996, I came to Ethiopia and I looked at many different projects. And I met an interesting individual by the name of Gabrias Haley. Now, Gabrias is kind of the father of irrigation in Ethiopia. And that's something that really has helped us out. He's an individual who has irrigated about 15% of the land mass here in this country. He's done about 170 irrigation projects, and he's fed about 500,000 people. Some people call him Bread Gabreas. So we were lucky to tie in with him. We saw if we were going to be involved in this type of undertaking, that this was the wagon that we were going to hitch our activities to. And he's never let us down. We have done in the Westlock community 15 different growing projects with him, all very successful, that have fed over 100,000 people.